memorize the verse? Okay, great. By memorizing these verses, it helps you to really understand deeper what is being said, because this takes you into the mood. Okay, so we can do it together. It's a tricky melody. Gora Gosti Kotalaya Sujana Busuragane Swamantrisi Nami Vrajana Vayuva Danvat Sarane Sada Dambahi Vakura Ratam Apurvam Atitaram Anye Swatar Bhatras Chaturbi Abhiyachadrikta Padaha. Okay, so we'll do word for word. Aye. Oh. Brata, brother. Swata, my inner self, my mind. Hitva, having given up. Damba, pride. Sada, always. Kuru, please do. Apurvam, unprecedented. Atitaram, excessive. Ratim, attachment. Guru, to Sri Guru. Goste, to the Gosta, the abode of cows. Vrindavan. Gosta Ali Sujane, to the devotee residents of Gosta Vrindavan. Busura Gane, to the earthly devotees, Vaishnavas and Brahmanas. Swamantre, to one's confidential mantra. Tsunami, to Sri Nam, the holy names of the Vrindavan couple. Rajanava Yuva Danva Sharane, in the shelter of the fresh youthful couple of Raj. Shri Sri Radha Krishna. Dhrittapada, holding your feet. Abhiyache, I beg you. Chaturbi, using pleasing words. So Raghunath Das Goswami is addressing his mind. Oh dear brother. Interesting how he approaches the mind. Oh dear brother. O mind. Having given up all pride, please develop unprecedented and excessive attachment to Sri Guru, to Sri Vrindavan, the abode of the cows, to the devotee residents of Vrindavan, to all the devotees on this planet, to the confidential mantra given by the Guru, to the holy names of Sri Radha and Krishna, and to the process of surrendering to the fresh youthful couple of Raj. Holding your feet, I beseech you with sweet words. So he's petitioning his mind. So what is he asking us? To focus on these 8 principles that he mentioned, or 8 features of the mood of Vrindavan. And the first one, he says, is Guru. Now he's referring not only to one's initiating Guru, but we also have, many of us, we also have our Shiksha Gurus. And many times we find that in our practice of Krishna consciousness, either the initiating Guru is no longer personally present, and the Shiksha Guru becomes the prominent. Or even when both are there, sometimes we find that we derive more spiritual strength and knowledge from our Shiksha Guru. In fact, mentioned, our line is Shiksha. You'll see the line of the Acharyas. You have Bhakti Vinod Thakur, but then preceding Bhakti Vinod Thakur is Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj. But Jagannath Babaji Maharaj is not the initiating guru of Bhakti Vinod Thakur. It's, Vrindavan Bihari. So we don't even hear about Vrindavan. Was it Vrindavan Bihari? Vipin Bihari. Vipin Bihari. So our line is the prominent personalities who contribute to the process of pure devotional service. So here, Raghunath Das Goswami is saying, develop attachment to Guru. And in verse number 2, will give you more of an insight how that attachment is to develop. But we understand the essence of one's guru's relationship is his instructions. The instructions are the means by which we focus the activities of devotional service. But he's not asking that only, he's asking to become attached to your guru. See your guru not only as your object by which you receive transcendental knowledge, but actually develop love for your spiritual master, develop attachment to your spiritual master, and think about your spiritual master, and also think by which ways one can also serve one's spiritual master. Because the spiritual master is actually Krishna in the material world. It's mentioned. Krishna manifests himself in both himself when he appears in his incarnations, and of course, we just take a little look to the left, or depends which way you're sitting, and you see there's Krishna. He's on the altar, along with his different manifestations, Krishna Balaram, Gaurnitai, Govinda Madhava, and Srimati Radharani. So the Lord has appeared in that form, which is his transcendental eternal forms that he manifests in this world for the sake of worship. But how much connection can we actually develop, at least in the beginning of our devotional service? But we can develop a strong connection with the Lord through the spiritual master. And one should develop that attachment by taking the instructions of the spiritual master as the most important activity in devotional service. Because that's what motivates us and clears our mind on how to execute devotional service. And pleasing the spiritual master, yasya prasada, bhagavat prasada, yasya prasadan, nagati kutopi, means to please Krishna. If you please the spiritual master, you please Krishna, automatically. Krishna doesn't have to be, we don't have to try to please him directly. In fact, he says, this is the way I am pleased. By carefully understanding and executing one's instructions and developing attachment to the spiritual master. Not simply the instructions, but the personality. And we see those many devotees who were with Srila Prabhupada, who are still with us, they developed such a deep attachment for Prabhupada that that attachment keeps them so strong in their Krishna consciousness. All they can do is think about, talk about, and describe their experiences with Srila Prabhupada. And the realizations they got from serving Prabhupada's instructions. So attachment to Guru is really more important attachment to Krishna because it precedes attachment to Krishna and is the connection for developing attachment to Krishna. So both, not only Diksha Guru, so Raghunath Das Goswami is saying, Shiksha Guru also. Then he goes on to say Gosta, or the land of Vrindavan. And he includes not only Vrindavan, but he includes aspects of Vrindavan such as Gokul, this is Bhakti Vinod Thakur, Nandishwar, Govardhan, especially Govardhan, Shyamakund, obviously, Radhakund, and another one he mentions is Yadvat, and that's where Srimati Radharani used to stay, and that was the place of her husband. Radharani has a husband, but he's just playing the role of a husband. He thinks he's the husband, but Radharani knows he's not. It's a wonderful relationship. And he makes the relationship between Radha and Krishna more exciting. When there's obstacles and you still focus on the goal, those obstacles actually really increase the love between the lover and the beloved. If you don't have any obstacles, the love can still be there, but it becomes intensified when you have to really work to bring about that relationship. So he plays a nice role. He helps Radharani develop more love for Krishna. In other words, the intensification of her wanting to see Krishna becomes heightened by the blocks that she has to encourage. Does it make sense? Yeah? Maybe some of you have that experience on a material level. Something similar. Anyway, that's something else. Okay, so develop attachment for these things. Gokul, where Krishna was born. Nandishwar, where Krishna herds the cows. Govardhan, Govardhan. It says that of all of the places, Govardhan is the best. And for Raghunath Das Goswami, that's his mood. You can go today, you see, his bhajan kutir is actually at Radhakund. But he offers so many prayers, and so much of his focus is on worshipping Govardhan Hill. Those who perform the Govardhan Parikram actually can understand how wonderful it is to be in the association of Govardhan. It's just pure bhakti. It's such a higher taste. So Govardhan is very merciful. Then he goes on to say, Gostalayin, the residents of Raj. And those residents for the purpose of increasing one's devotional service. Those residents usually are the persons who are on the highest platform. In other words, those who are on pure love for Krishna, in the mood of Vrindavan, they're usually Uttama Adhikaris. They reside in Vrindavan, but there are residents of Vrindavan who do not reside in Vrindavan. And who are they? The ones who reside in Vrindavan in consciousness. So it mentions that if one cannot, for whatever reason, not reside in Vrindavan, then one can reside in Vrindavan in the mind. And that residence is equal to residing in Vrindavan, because wherever the mind is, that's where the soul is directed. So yeah, it's mentioned both. Okay? Then he goes on to say, develop attachment for these residents of Vrindavan. Who are some of the residents of Vrindavan? Krishna's cowherd friends, Subal, Sudam, Kinkini, Ujjwala especially. And the gopis like, Lalita, Vishaka, and some of the principal gopis in Vrindavan. Develop attachment for them, hear about their activities, become interested in hearing more and more about the residents of Vrindavan, because they represent Vrindavan also. And what is a Vrindavan? Vrindavan, we defined it not only as a place of transcendental activities, but as the pure state of consciousness. When you're in Vrindavan consciousness, you have reached this state. So keeping these elements which help us to come to and develop our mood for Vrindavan prominent. This is Raghunath Das Goswami. He's saying, come on, mind. There's a lot of things you like to do, but put it all aside. And he says, I'm begging you. He says, I'm holding on to your feet. Now, does a mind have feet? Have you ever seen a mind with feet? Yeah? No, I haven't either. Can we imagine a mind with feet? No. Somebody might try to draw something. You see a mind, and it's got 2 feet. That means it's always running away from you. That's good. That's one of the reasons why it may be described. The mind can't stay in one place. It has to keep moving. That is the conditioned mind. The spiritual mind, or the purified mind, can focus, but it can only focus on that which is purified. In other words, the spiritual realm. You can't keep your mind focused on the material realm, because the material is always moving anyway, and the mind is also moving. Sometimes you see, we don't recommend, but if you watch television, they don't keep the images there more than 2 or 3 seconds, because they want to keep your mind moving so you can't think. Because if you think, then you turn off the television. Yeah. So you realize it's just, srama vikevalam, waste of time. So that's one of the, tricks of Maya, to keep your mind moving, but where you're going, you don't know. But keeping the mind focused on something spiritual slows the mind down and helps the mind to become one-pointed. And that's the purpose, or that's the actual feature by which the mind becomes controlled. So Ghostalalin, the residents of Vrindavan. Let's see if we can say something more about these personalities. I gotta come to my notes here and see what I wrote. One of the problems with the mind is you kind of forget. So, yeah. Of course, now we're also talking about the mood, the inner mood, not the outer mood. Step by step, bring your mind into these different levels of consciousness, or different focuses on the aspects of the mood of Vrindavan. Okay? Got something here. Okay. That's pretty much it. Okay, then we go on to the next one, Sujana. Sujana means the Vaishnava, devotees of the Lord. Now, as it's mentioned here, and it's also indicated other places, this is not simply Vaishnavas within the Gaudiya Vaishnava. This is Vaishnavas who worship the Lord all around the world, no matter what particular tradition they may be connected with. Those who are pure worshippers in all of the, what we say, paths of bhakti. There are many paths of bhakti, and even within the path of bhakti, the different schools of bhakti within the paths. So, Raghunath Das Goswami is indicating to develop attachment for these persons only. Also, think about them, think about their devotion. And even though they may not reside in Vrindavan, still they are bona fide because they worship the Supreme Lord. Then he goes on to say, and number 5 out of the 8 is Bu Surya Gana. The Bu Surya Gana is the Brahmanas. Those who teach, the priests, the intellectuals, scholars, counselors, even healers, persons who are guides on a transcendental platform, and even on the material platform. Because Brahmana actually is part of the Varnashram, and Varnashram is actually material. But Brahmanas actually give direction to both activities in the material world and also within the context of spiritual, they actually become gurus. So actually develop attachment for them by their fixed, and such persons teach. So we should appreciate and also glorify persons who are in that category. And that brings our consciousness into the mood of devotion more and more. Not just our guru, because what's a Kanistha Adhikari? What's Kanistha Adhikari means? Beginner. So what is the quality of a beginner? My guru, not your guru, no other guru. My guru is my guru, and your guru is your guru. And we keep the fence up. But no, anyone who fits the category like that, and such persons. So to simply focus on only one as spiritual master, that's mentioned, but then it takes it even to another level. There are many who also support same teachings that our spiritual master is giving us. They should also be appreciated, and as it says here, even if they are juniors, they may be Kanistha, but still if they are Brahmanas, still we can appreciate that. So then these are the 5 he says. Then he goes on to say also to Swamantra. So what is Swamantra? Who knows? Anybody know what the Swamantra is? Diksha mantra, yeah, which is? Gayatri. So Gayatri. Gayatri is one Swamantra. This is a mantra given by the spiritual master at the time of initiation. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati has divided the category of initiation into 2 parts. Primarily, or even prior to that, initiation was one. It was called Upanaya Samskara, or Diksha initiation, which included Brahminical initiation as part of it. But in the time of Bhakti Vinod and in the time of Bhakti Siddhanta, right around that same time, there was a lot of pretense coming from various types of asampradayas, schools that claimed to be in the line with Sri Chaitanya and bona fide, but were simply pretense. They had simply developed this idea based on their own mental speculations. They weren't qualified. So they would just surreptitiously or just automatically put on a Brahmin thread. I'm born in a Brahmin family, so I got a Brahmin thread, therefore I'm qualified to do Brahminical work. No. It's not by janma, it's by karma, or by qualification. One becomes qualified to speak or to guide others, and not simply because I have a connection with the family. So, along with that, people were thinking, well, I read the Shastras, therefore I know the Shastras, therefore I'm a Brahmin. But what is Brahmin? Patan patan, yajan yajan, dana pratigraha, which means to know the scriptures, to teach the scriptures, to worship the deity, and to be able to teach others how to properly worship the deity, to give in charity, and to accept charitable gifts. Not only accepting charitable gifts, but to also give back. Because Brahmanas live very simply. There's one story where one particular king, this was around the time of just right before the Battle of Kurukshetra. There was a very extremely wealthy king. And he commissioned this large group of brahmanas to do some pujas for some auspicious results within his kingdom. And they came, and they were expert brahmanas. They did the puja, the results came. Now he wanted to reward them, so he gave them tons of gold and various types of jewels. And they were thinking, we gotta carry all this stuff. So they just left it. And that one, when the Battle of Kurukshetra was finished, and the treasury was finished, and they had to perform the Rajasuya sacrifice, which took a lot of wealth, Krishna reminded Arjuna, hey, there's where the gold is. These brahmanas have left it in a big pile. Nobody took it. And so he came, and he got that wealth, and that was used to perform the Rajasuya sacrifice. Also, we have another example where Rama, Sri Ramachandra, gifted the brahmanas also, and they just gave it back to him. So Brahmins are not greedy for wealth. They take, if they need anything, they take very little, and the rest they can use for religious activities or to give in charity. That's Brahmanas. Not like, check out my bank balance, triple zeros. Okay, so become attached also to one's Diksha mantra. For those of you who haven't received second or even first initiation, that will come in due course of time. But as I mentioned, Bhaktisiddhanta wanted to dispel or to destroy this idea of pretense. So he divided it. Qualify yourself through the, first initiation, Harinam initiation. Then once you qualify yourself, developing qualities that are indicating of a Brahmana, there's 12 qualities as mentioned. Then you can move to the second initiation. And what is one of the qualities in ISKCON that is required for second initiation? Who knows?
Bhakti Shastra.
Bhakti Shastra, yeah. We have to take the Bhakti Shastra's examination, which is having a working knowledge and also being tested for Bhagavad Gita, Nectar of Devotion, Nectar of Instructions, and Sri Ishopanishads, right? Okay, yeah, these four. So I'm not going to say anything more because I don't want to put anybody on the spot, but do it. Even if you haven't, even if you're not aspiring for second initiation, it is part of Srila Prabhupada's direction for developing a society that knows the philosophy. Can you give a class? No. Why? I don't know anything. Prabhupada said everyone, ladies, men, in between, they have more than two genders. This is today's world. How many genders are there now? 27? Of course, this is a joke. So with that kind of society, you have to know this philosophy to get people back on the right track. So yeah, having a working knowledge of these, and also being what we say accredited, and that's the examination process. Okay. Next, he goes to number 7. Actually, there's 11 points, not just. I just mentioned 8, but actually 11. Sri Harinam. And that is the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, which includes, what does the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra include? Hmm? Well, that we chant that as the prelude to get the mercy of the Maha Mantra. But what is the inclusive of what is the Maha Mantra?
Radha, Krishna, and Rama. Name of Radha, Krishna, and Rama.
Yeah, it's the name of Radha and Krishna. For Raghunath Das Goswami, there is only Radha and Krishna. For those who are in a different bhav, the mood of Aishwarya bhav, they may worship Lord Ramachandra. So when they chant the second half of the mantra, they think in terms of Ramachandra, or maybe even Balaram. But for Gaudiya Vaishnavas, mostly, and those who follow Lord Chaitanya, it's only Radha Krishna. Rama also means the husband of the goddess of fortune, which is in this case Srimati Radharani, who is the original goddess of fortune. It's also Krishna. So Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. So Rama also has Radharaman. We have the Radharaman Didi in Vrindavan, like that. Okay. And Sri Hari, Radhakanta, Sri Krishna, Govinda, so forth. So he's emphasizing, or at least Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying, we should focus on the primary names of the Lord. Now there are secondary names, which we don't chant, but they also indicate the Supreme Lord, but in his functional attitudes within the realm of the material, such as Patita Pavan, Ishwara, Ishwari, or Ishwara, Paramahansa, not Paramahansa, but Parameshwara, Brahman, God. These are terms that indicate his functions. So we don't chant those. These are secondary names. We chant only the primary names. Govinda, Gopinath, Madan, Mohan, like that. Like that. Okay, number 8. Raja, Nava, Yuva, Danva, Sharana. Surrender to the youthful divine couple of Vrindavan. Who's that? Oh yeah. What is that surrender? One should take shelter exclusively, this is Bhaktivinoda, and one pointed on Braja Yuva, the divine couple of Vrindavan. Well, you might say, well, we worship Ram, we worship the Shringadev, we honor, Vamana's appearance, and then there's Rahadev. It's all part of our calendar, right? It's there, Gaudiya Vaishnavas. But we worship them, but we don't focus them as our Istadev. We focus on Radha and Krishna. That's the mood that Mahaprabhu is teaching. He's teaching only Vrindavan mood. And therefore, although we honor these other deities, we don't develop the same type of attachment as we do for Radha and Krishna, which is exclusive. That is the mood. That's Raghunath Das Goswami. That's also the mood of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who teaches that mood as the mood of our process. And Srila Prabhupada also. Focus on Radha and Krishna. Okay, after listing all of these things, then he says, what does he say? What's the qualification for practicing this focus on these different indicators? What is the qualification? Give up pride. Now, Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives a long list of what is pride. He says illusion and trickery, ignorance, cheating, lack of direct simplicity. He says direct simplicity, Well, we can discuss this. I'm just going to list it. Deceit and duplicity. If there's any other motive other than devotion to Krishna in Vrindavan, that is a kind of cheating, or that makes that focus not possible. You can't focus on Radha and Krishna if you have another motive. You're automatically disqualified. So he says, give up all of these other directions of your consciousness and focus only on Radha and Krishna. Good works in the material world, we'll talk about that in verse number 2. Develop understanding of how bhakti works. Develop a favorable mood. Sometimes bhakti is disguised as favorable, but it's unfavorable. What are the things that make it unfavorable? These things that he listed. A tendency to cheat, the tendency to present oneself as being advanced for the sake of getting some honor or some, what we say, pecuniary gain, something material. Illusions, material desires, material energy, all these. And he says all of this, if we focus exclusively, giving up all of these other, what we say anarthas, then all of the material attachments that may still linger in the mind automatically disappear. And then he says, develop pure love for the lotus feet of Radha and Krishna. Then again, it's saying atitaram kuru, which means make an intensive endeavor. Give it all you got. Don't be, what is that? What is it called? There's a type of attitude that one can develop in the mood of chanting one's japa. What is that? What is it called? It's called aldakshina. Aldakshina means, yeah, I got a chant. Okay, I got the beads. Okay, how much time do I have? Not enough. I'm gonna have to, get it done because there's more important things to do. Prabhupada said, yeah, I got my 16 rounds done. Now I can do any damn thing I want. So he's kind of indicating how we think. So not like that. So do it with complete attachment and enthusiasm, devotion, understanding it's the principle. And just to make it a statement, the essence of developing all of these attachments and directions to the different features of Vrindavan centers around the quality of our chanting. It's all about chanting. That brings everything into fruition. Okay? So I'll stop there and see. We can maybe discuss some of these from different angles of vision. And is there any comments, questions on any of the ones we listed? We'll go back to the verse itself. Have excessive attachment for Guru, Vrindavan, the cows, the boat of the cows, the residents of Vrindavan, the devotees all over the planet, the confidential mantra, Diksha mantra, Gayatri mantra, the chanting of Krishna's holy name, the Maha mantra, and become very much focused and attached to surrendering to the youthful couple in Vrindavan. Focus your mind on Radha and Krishna and their activities. Any comments, questions? Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you, Maharaj. It seems like the Manah Siksa of Narottam Das Thakur in regard to Lord Nityananda Prabhu is more easily accessible.
Narottam Das Thakur's?
He has written also Manah Siksa, in regard to Lord Nityananda Prabhu.
Bodhisuke couple guy, is that?
No. How does it go?
Oh yeah, okay. It's
Manah Siksa also the same title.
Yeah. Let's see. How does it go? It's a beautiful bhajan.
Yeah. the same tune as Shri Guru.
It's also called Manah Shiksha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but it seems that it's a bit more
Easier. Well, Raghunath Das Goswami is not trying to make it easier. He's giving it the way it is. The lotus feet of Lord Nityananda. How's that? A Bodho Sukhi Kawa? No, it's not that. What is that? Oh, I know it. Who knows that? The lotus feet of that particular bhajan. Koti Chandra Susitala Yechayaya Jagadudaya. Yeah, yeah, you're right. But put that one aside, at least for the next few days. Let's follow Raghunath Das Goswami's mood. He's taking you straight to Vrindavan. I think Lord Nityananda is taking us into the process of pure devotional service. But Raghunath Das Goswami is exhibiting his own Istadev, or his own mood, and in the form of these instructions. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying that, this is the essence. Yeah, but that's a nice point, thank you. Okay. Yes, we have a hand back there.
May I ask about
Yeah, stand up. I can't see you.
Chair, may I ask about Sujana?
Yes, Sujana, yeah.
So, Raghunath Das Goswami is saying we should develop excessive attachment for devotees.
Mm-hmm.
So, not just respect, but attachment. So, like you mentioned, different. I think Urmila Mataji, when she talks about this,
she has a nice picture of all of the different.
She explains those who love God, we should love those who love God.
These are usually Madhyamam Adhikaris. They're not Kanistas. Mm-hmm. Those who are actually preaching Krishna consciousness or God consciousness. I don't know if you can see the picture. She's illustrated here. You see people with, the Israeli, the Islamic, the Christian, the Hare Krishna. They're all sitting together. I don't know if you can see it. So yeah, that is more or less Bhaktivinoda Thakur's mood. So what you're saying is that you can't develop excessive attachment for such persons, right?
Should we?
Well, we should appreciate that they're actually doing the work of God in the world. And so we don't find any fault with them, obviously. And we also see that according to their level of understanding, they're bringing others to God consciousness. So they're doing the work. So we can appreciate, we can emulate, we can also glorify such persons. Okay. Yes. So, Raj, you had a question?
Thank you very much.
Stand up, please. Yeah, that way everyone can hear better.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. You said when you were reading from verse 1 that the qualification was to remove all pride. So, how do we ever get past verse 1?
How do we remove all pride?
Yes.
He doesn't say lust, anger, greed, illusion. Of course, he includes some of these. Bhaktivinoda Thakur includes them. He says pride. So, give it up. You might say, you're asking the impossible. But pride is subtle. It's not even noticeable by people who have pride. Sometimes you might point it out and they'll say, no, it's not me. But if you want to know whether you have pride or not, just ask somebody else. They'll tell you. Especially if you're married. So, yeah, it's so subtle you can't even notice it. But therefore, when you find yourself, how to give up pride? Actually, Bhaktivinoda text, of course, says, by serving Vaishnavas. Becoming the servant of the Vaishnavas. That is actually the strongest antidote for destroying pride. Because service means to serve in such a way as to please. That's service. If you're doing something for someone and you're trying to get something out of it, and you don't really care whether they like what you're doing or not, that's not service. Service is to try to understand the person and serve in such a way that it'll be beneficial for that person, or at least please the person. That's service. And that's the service that's being mentioned here. So that we can practice, and that we should practice also. We should see the other devotees are an opportunity for my spiritual advancement, because I have so many living entities that I can offer service to. And even people, even non-devotees, if we serve them, by being respectful to them, by sometimes just being friendly to them. These are ways that we can get rid of this demon of pride. Okay. Raj, you have a question? Okay, Kanchana does.
Maharaj, just when you were saying that, a thought came to my mind, which was sometimes even when we serve the Vaishnavas, we can get proud that we're serving the Vaishnavas. It's just our talk.
Yeah.
So I was wondering...
Don't do it.
Don't serve the Vaishnavas? Or?
No, don't. See how people interpret things? Different strokes for different folks. Yeah. No, it's not like that. Because service to the Vaishnava is considered to be more pleasing than Krishna, than those who try to serve Krishna. Because the Vaishnavas are dear to Krishna. And therefore, just like Prabhupada would use the example, a big, very important person might have, if you try to do something for them, they may have everything. And they may appreciate what you're doing, but if you do something for someone that they love, then you become very dear to them. So in the same way, devotees are very dear to Krishna, all devotees. You serve the devotees, then Krishna becomes very much inclined to give his mercy to you more and more. Yeah. That's the key, Vaishnava Seva. And this is what Lord Chaitanya emphasized, service to the Vaishnava.
So when you said don't do it, Maharaj, when it came to pride in serving the Vaishnavas, what is it that we shouldn't do?
Realize that the opportunity that you're given is not simply by your arrangement, and the things you perform are also given to you. As Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Sabhasya Hridisani Visto Matat Smirte Agyanam Pohanam Cha. He says, remembrance, forgetfulness, knowledge, where do you get that? From me. You want to remember something? Krishna's in the heart. He's in the heart. He helps you remember. And the activities you perform, Krishna also says, Rasa Homa Sakumsaya, Prabhasmi Susya Surya, Pranava Sarva Vedeshu, Sabdike Purusham Nishu. Sabdike Purusham Nishu means, I am your ability. I am the ability in all living beings. So whatever you can do, that ability is coming from Krishna. You may not be able to directly connect it, but actually you'll see that if Krishna doesn't want you to do something, you can't do it. You just can't do it. Or if you try to do it, it doesn't come out the way it should come out. It's like that. So yeah, he's the ability also. And the intelligence. He's everything. So therefore we just pass on the credit. All glories to the spiritual master, all glories to the Vaishnavas. Thank you, Krishna, for your mercy. And that way we're free from this idea that I'm important, I'm doing it, I'm the person that everybody needs in their life. Hare Krishna. We get away from that. It's just a burden on the mind anyway. People think that's good, but it's just a burden on the mind.
Thank you, Raj.
Yeah, okay. Raj, you had a question?
Yeah, Raj. English, Raj. Just a point you mentioned about chanting of the holy names and how Rama actually means Radharaman and sometimes it means Balaram. Sometimes we get this question as well when newcomers ask, like we're saying, Krishna is the ultimate, and they say, why do we chant Rama? And we say, Krishna's name is more powerful. It's not sitting with me, like, that, why do we still have Rama on the altar? Why do we have Balaram on the altar?
Yeah.
So, I don't know, could you give more clarification? I'm kind of not really...
Yeah. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he mentions that when we see Rama in the Mahamantra as Ramachandra, we're in the mood of Aishwarya Bhav, or in the mood of Vaikuntha. When we're seeing the Rama in the Mahamantra as Krishna, you're in Madhurya, or sweetness, or the mood of Vrindavan. So, therefore, he doesn't say you should be in one mood or another. He's making that explanation, that's all. So yeah, so then Prabhupada also said, and he wrote it in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, what is your particular focus? You may see Ram as Ramachandra, or you may see it as Balaram, or you may see it as Radharaman, depending on your mood of devotion. But if you don't have a mood, then adopt one. And the mood that Lord Chaitanya is saying, develop the mood of Vrindavan. So then we see in that. Yeah. The mood of Vrindavan is everything is Radha and Krishna, that's all. Yes. Well, any of the ladies have a question? Yes. Garangi, is it? Yeah. Okay.
So, we hear about pure devotion, also this pure motivation, but I'm very far from it. And also, we have this material body, material mind, it's certain situation in this world. We also have to think about our own interests, I mean, and it's so difficult just to think, okay, pure, I don't think about myself,
But if you think about, but if you do pure, you're thinking about yourself, but not the self you think you are. There's another self, it's called you, the spirit soul. So that's, by acting on the pure level, you're feeding you. Taking care of the body, that's necessary. So you do that. But we don't have to worry about that. If you are engaged in devotional service, Krishna provides usually what you need to live, right? Gives you prasadam, place to stay. If you want more than that, then you have to work for it. But generally that's pretty much I mean, there's the whole story about, what is it, Arjunacharya. You know the story of Arjunacharya. Yeah, he read that one verse in the Bhagavad Gita. I carry what you lack and I preserve what you have. So he thought that was too much. He crossed that out. And he was a beggar. He went out begging. And that day, he didn't have any luck, but two people came to the door. Who was it? Krishna and Balaram, and brought his wife all kinds of food. And when he came home, she said, "Oh, thank you for sending those two boys with all of that nice food stuff." He said, "What two boys? I didn't send anybody." Then she said, "But why you were so cruel to them? You beat them also." Because when he scratched out the line in the verse, he was actually beating the Lord through scratching out the line. And then he realized, actually, yeah, Krishna takes care of his devotees. He does. If he doesn't, maybe because we get too preoccupied and take care of ourselves, and Krishna says, "All right, you do it." And then but if you depend on Krishna and simply engage in devotional service, you find he takes care of devotees. He makes arrangements. Sometimes not as fast as we want it, but it always comes in the course of time. Right, Sitarani? She has personal experience.
Guru Maharaj, to go back to Raj Mukunda's question, just to clarify my mind, is Lord Ram and Balaram are different in terms of hierarchy? Is Lord Ram an incarnation and Lord Balaram an expansion?
Ramadi Murti Sukalani Yamena Tishtan Nanavatara Akaro Bhuganesha Kintu Krishna Swayam Samabhavat Paramam Pamanyo. So the incarnations are mentioned. The first one is Ramadi, that means Rama and all the other incarnations. He is the topmost incarnation in the realm of Vaikuntha. Out of all the Vaikuntha incarnations, he is superior to all. His planet is the highest in Vaikuntha. But he's also an expansion of Krishna. Krishna's tu Bhagavan Swayam. So Krishna is Adi, what is he called? Adi Guru, not Adi Guru, but Adi, he's the original Supreme Personality. Govindam Adi Purusham, yeah, he's the original person. So Ram is an expansion like that. So we have the Vaikuntha realm and we have the Vrindavan realm. Both are spiritual. It's just the different moods, that's all. The mood is different. The mood is more intimate. Ram only had one wife. Krishna has, he can have so many wives. Hare Krishna.
Can I just ask something following on from that?
You guys like that subject, yeah? Okay. All right.
Can one still be attached to Ram, even though the mood of Madhurya worship Radha Krishna, but have attachment to all Nrsimha?
Let's see here. What did I write? Something here. Yeah, these are all manifestations, but Krishna is beyond all manifestations. He's Turiya, he's the highest. But, and his mood is is the mood of Lord Chaitanya, which is teaching the mood of Vrindavan. So we just finished Ram Nomi, and I think John and his crew is going to do a play on Ram Leela. They're going to change our mood. But that's all right, because we honor Lord Ram, but then again, where do we focus as our Istadev? Therefore, Lord Chaitanya says, focus on Vrindavan. We don't minimize or even say anything. But if you go to, what's his name? I can't think of it. The brother of Gopal Bhatta. No, Trimala Bhatta. Who was the other one?
Prabodhananda Saraswati.
Yeah, Prabodhananda Saraswati. He doesn't want to know anything. He says, forget Vishnu. He's all right. Just give me Lord Chaitanya. That's all. That's all I want. And Lord Chaitanya is Avatari. He is the manifestation of all of the incarnations, but he's Radha and Krishna in one. So he's the highest of all. He doesn't want to hear about anything else. So that's a particular bhav, a loving mood, focusing. And as you progress in your devotional service, and this is something you'll experience, when you start, the triangle has a base on the bottom which is wide. But as you go on in your devotional service, you go up the triangle and you become more focused on your actual Istadeva. And then you become one-pointed. That's what Lord Chaitanya is teaching us, to become focused on Vrindavan. You'll see that also. You'll experience that. You'll start to find a particular mood and a particular object of devotion, and you'll start to focus, and you'll want to hear verses about that. You want to hear pastimes about that, the aspect of the Supreme Lord. It becomes more focused. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay, I was just thinking. Yes. Vrindavanath, yeah.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Maharaj, one of the 5 process of bhakti is mentioned as staying in Mathura. And also Raghunath Das Goswami has emphasized too much on attachment and love towards Vrindavan Dham. But
higher than Mathura is the forest of Vrindavan.
And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Jagannath, like everybody was having huge affection towards Vrindavan. So how we should think about Vrindavan versus like Mayapur and Puri Dham?
Well, Puri is also Vrindavan, and that's Vipralambha Bhav. That mood of Vrindavan is complete separation. It illustrates, the Ratha Yatra teaches that whole separation from Krishna, not meeting Krishna. Vrindavan you have both, but in Puri it's just Vipralambha Bhav, the mood of separation. But it's in the mood of Vrindavan also. Krishna is feeling separation from the residents of Vrindavan. And the residents of Vrindavan are feeling separation. So that meeting comes in the form of Ratha Yatra. But then that only lasts for one day or a few hours, and then separation again starts to manifest, that mood. Mayapur is a Daryadam, which means it is Vrindavan also, but with an element of mercy. There's more mercy. Vrindavan, you can commit offenses, and that will also deter from your spiritual practice. But Mahaprabhu has pushed all the offenses aside. Therefore, he is Namo Mahavandanaya Krishna Prema Padaya. He's most merciful. Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namani Gaura Tristena Maha. He's the most merciful. So there's more mercy in terms of one's approach and their worship. And all of the holy places are in Mayapur also. You have Govardhan, you have Radhakund, Shyamakund, you have all of the holy places are there. But Vrindavan, you can commit offenses. It's hard to commit offenses in Mayapur, but you can also commit offenses, especially to Vaishnavas. That you have to be careful. So yeah, more mercy.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Wow, we got a lot of hands here. Sukapa. How we doing on time?
5 more minutes.
Huh? 5 more minutes? Okay. We have to keep to the schedule because everything is quite precise. Okay.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for the talks. Just a little note on the Mataji's question, and you mentioned that we have to depend upon Krishna for everything. Can you just explain a bit more how the dependence works? So, we don't want to be lazy and don't do anything, but still depend upon Krishna. How do we do that?
The acharyas say try to live simply. Don't make a gorgeous arrangement in your material life, therefore, and you're just spending so much time. Live simply. Take care of the basic necessities like that. And that way you have more time for devotional activity, and it becomes easier to fulfill your needs on a material level. So some of us have a hard time living simply, and the material energy around us doesn't allow it either. They're always encouraging, buy. Even if you don't have the money, we'll give you the money. Of course, you have to pay back with interest. But even if you don't have the money, we'll make sure you have the money by giving you the money. So this is, that's the materialistic society. So therefore, in the absolute sense of idealism, Prabhupada said, live like here. So what was Lochan was saying, don't go home, everybody just stay. All your problems are solved. You got the cows, you got agriculture's here, deities are here, beautiful, inviting, Prabhupada's mercies here. Haribol. Of course, you might think it's not practical. So we'll say that when you go back, at least try to understand how you can somehow rather simplify your life and not spend so much time wasting time.
Thank you so much.
Live simply. Sri Devi? Anyone else on the men's side yet? Anybody? I think Shamlal had a question, didn't you? Okay.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Guru Maharaj. So as you're describing the level of bhakti that is being, propounded in this Manah Shiksha, to me it seems that the sadhaka must reach at least some level of steadiness to practice such deep bhakti. If we are still struggling as neophytes, just to chant around, just to get our, schedule properly, where is the question of developing deep attachment for all these various aspects that we described?
Give up pride.
Give up pride.
He said that's the prerequisite. I think I wrote it down here. There's 3 things. Yeah. I'm the only note taker that can't find anything after I take the notes. There's 3 things that are mentioned that are conducive to fulfilling these activities. I wrote it down, but I didn't carry it with me. So, attachment to Vaishnavas and developing the mood of service. These are the qualifications that are needed.
So 3 things: give up pride, develop attachment to the service of
And
God.
develop attachment to the Vaishnavas.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, develop attachment for association to the Vaishnavas.
And the third one?
Engage in devotional service, ultimately. I have to give the class after breakfast, so I'll bring the 3.
Okay.
Yeah. But
Thank
this is essentially.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, Raja Krishna Prabhu. We have to make this the last question. Because we want everyone to have...
Thank you for the nice class. I was thinking while listening to you, you quoted the verse from Bhagavad Gita that Krishna says that he's the ability in man. So I was reflecting on how when non-devotees, they do something and then they succeed in it, so obviously that's Krishna's
they're worshiping.
mercy, it's Krishna's influence, right?
Well, they worship the material energy, so they get some success from that level.
So it's a karmic.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so when they don't succeed, it's Krishna is withdrawing his influence, and they cannot achieve. And then for devotees, I was thinking, if a devotee is trying to do a service, but he's not succeeding, that means there is pride in their heart.
Or maybe he's acting in the wrong way. It says that one has to know exactly how to perform devotional service. Sometimes we perform it in the wrong way.
So it may not be pride, it may just
ignorance. It could be. Yeah. It may not be pride. They might be sincerely trying, but they're approaching the service in the wrong way. Just for instance, if they're doing service for the deities, there's a specific way to do it. There's also, when you're cooking, there's also rules and regulations. Not knowing them or not be able to perform the activity properly can also cause the activity, the devotee will not feel happy. Now, if you feel happy, that means Krishna is pleased by your service.
Thank you. Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay, thank you. We have to stop because of time, but thank you very much, and we'll be here for the verse number 2 after breakfast. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.